everyone, Roger here. If you love real travel, the kind with good stories, practical tips, and no fluff, you're in the right place. Let's hit the road. Right after leaving Santa Barbara Station, two enthusiastic National Park Service volunteers hop on board and begin sharing the stories of this stunning coastline. This is raw part of my Coast Starlight journey. Minimal editing, just cutting out the long blocked views. Enjoy the beautiful Santa Barbara County scenery along the Juan Bautista de Anza trail with their live background commentary. Pure window views and relaxing train ride. Let's go. In this part, we'll glide along one of California's most exclusive stretches of the Pacific, where the tracks run so close to the ocean that it sometimes feels like you're floating just above the water. We'll see dramatic rocky shores, sandy beaches, bright yellow native flowers dotting the hillsides, and peaceful little RV parks tucked between the tracks and the sea. As we travel further north, the ocean gradually becomes more wavy with beautiful white-capped waves. We'll also hear the volunteers talk about the remarkable comeback of the southern sea otters and the majestic blue whales that migrate through these rich waters every year. Stick with me for the full 17 minutes. The views keep getting better as we head north along the historic Juan Bautista de Anza trail. Out the window, past this narrow band of hilly vegetation, lies the Pacific Ocean. This slim stretch of land between the tracks and the sea is mostly private property. One of the reasons these views feel so exclusive. Look how calm and peaceful the water is. Perhaps that's the true meaning behind the name, Pacific. Look how close we are to the water right now. You can clearly see the sandy beach and the sharp outlines of the rocks scattered along the shoreline. Every now and then, a tall, yellow dirt embankment rises up and briefly blocks the view to the west, hiding the Pacific Ocean from sight.
Oh, wow. They're coming back. They were almost extinct as well. Blue whales are the largest mammals on Earth. They're as big or bigger than this train car. So that gives you a frame of reference. If whales were at their pre-whaling numbers, if they recovered enough, they would take out 1.7 billion tons of carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere.
Here's a small, flat area right between the tracks and the ocean. An RV park with RVs, cars, vans, and tents. You can even spot the people there looking up at the train as we go by. It's a charming little scene nestled along this otherwise private coastline.
So these were all part of a land.
Sure, if you guys look back,
here's
the back of the train.
Oh, yeah. Here is the Kodak moment. There's a picture to take. The pine tree.
It's interesting. When the camera catches the scenery rushing by right next to the train, it feels like we're speeding along. But as soon as the wide, open ocean fills the frame, the train suddenly seems to slow down to a peaceful crawl. Of course, it's just a visual trick. Our eyes playing with our sense of speed depending on what's closest to the window.
They were cut down. So, right here, if you look out the window here, this is the remnants of the Yellowstone fire that happened, 5 years ago now? Yeah, it's been a while. So, as I go together and talk about kelp, in your candy?
Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah, it's a stabilizer. So that brown stuff out there is all California flower pot kelp. So kelp is used as a stabilizer. So you've seen some interesting things with kelp. They started adding kelp to livestock feed. So what happened in cows, it turns out, livestock turns out is a big contributor to global warming because of methane. So this is a pretty healthy kelp forest here. So what does kelp do for California's coast? The way this kelp grows, it does a hold fast. It grabs onto something at the bottom, it shoots up to the surface, it can grow 18 to 22 inches a day. Because of the way it attaches to the north south current, and when we have a big storm, there will be times when we go. That's all I can say.
Along this stretch of the Pacific coastline, the views are simply mesmerizing. Green bushes, trees, and colorful flowers mix with tall yellowish grass, creating a beautiful contrast against the vast blue ocean. The land feels wild and untamed, with occasional sandy beaches and steep yellow dirt embankments rising beside the tracks. What makes this journey so special is its exclusive feel. These scenes are rarely seen except from the train. Right now, we're gliding under a perfect cloudless sky, bathed in bright morning sunlight. And at times, we get so close to the water that it almost feels like we're floating just above the Pacific.
Until they realize that those protected areas mean the baby fish have time to grow. So it turns out
Plant, it's actually an algae, but it's a plant. It grows up to 100 feet. And so again, once the depth drops below 100 feet, then the kelp can't get all the way up to the surface, right? It has these little gas bulbs that allows it to be buoyant. And,
Spot those bright yellow flowers blooming among the green bushes and tall grass? The volunteers mentioned that these are a special variety native to this particular stretch of the Pacific coastline. They're quite unique to this area. It's one of those little details that makes this ride even more special. As we glide along, keep an eye out for them dotting the hillsides, a beautiful splash of color against the wild landscape and the vast blue ocean.
See it with like 5 little fingertips. Are they coming? No, they come this way, but normally they live a little bit farther inland. So we're going to keep our eyes out for them. And all our beautiful California condors actually have number tags on the wing. Oh, wow. To be able to really identify them. We're going to keep our eyes out. But, again, the kelp is really important because it's a tough place living out there in the ocean, right? Everybody's looking for their next meal. And of course, you got to look over your back. There's somebody else that's going to be doing their next meal. You want to be in a place to hide, so that's why we're going to live in the kelp forest. And as Diane mentioned, right, they're photosynthesizers, right? They have a whole lot of oxygen in the water. Of course, most of the fish are atmosphere as well. But, you know, as Diane mentioned, there's a good chance we're going to see porpoises. So let's talk about how we're going to see critters offshore. I've been pretty good. Diane, kind of a drought, you know, why not see whales? Our gray whales have already done the migration. He's swimming just outside the kelp deck, and you're going to see their dorsal fins, right? They're all species, they're all marine mammals, so they got to come up for air. And so we'll see their dorsal fins kind of popping through the surface. They'll take a breath, and then you see them paired up, or they're in groups, and sometimes whale watching boats in Santa Barbara and out of San Luis Obispo. The next time you get it, come on the way head to the right spot. But again, I want you guys to keep your eyes out. From the other thing we're looking for is we're looking for little splashing offshore, right? And then also we're looking for the seagulls, right? So when the dolphins find something to eat.
Up ahead, you can see a jetty stretching out into the ocean, and right beside it, a lovely stretch of beach filled with people. There are quite a few locals and visitors enjoying the sand and the water, walking, relaxing, or just soaking in the view. It's a nice reminder that while much of this coastline is private property and only visible from the train, this particular spot is open to the public. A perfect little beach escape where people can actually get close to the Pacific and enjoy its beauty.
Probably a kayak. Is it disappearing? I can't use their pectoral fins and they like to slap on the water. That's the way they go ahead and trap their prey and everything there. So they're a little bit farther out, but again, look for the dolphins, and just like Diane did, if we think we see something, you know, interrupt us because we want everybody to be able to see the dolphins.
See something, say something.
We'll keep our eyes out. So let's.
Yeah.
A full-grown blue whale is literally as long as this train car. This train car is about 82 feet long. Blue whales can grow up to 100 feet long.
Wow.
They come from all over, and we'll talk about why they come here. We talked about the humpback whales, the gray whales. They have all their calves down in the Gulf of California, so that's off of Baja. And then they go up and they feed in the Arctic Ocean. So they come by here northbound every February and March. And then come November, they're heading back down, and they're heading back down to Mexico. So we see them southbound in that particular one.
Listen to what the volunteers just shared. This coastline is home to one of California's most beloved native animals, the southern sea otter.
So the question
These
was,
playful creatures were once hunted almost to extinction for their incredibly dense fur. By the 1930s, only about 50 remained in all of California, clinging to a tiny stretch of the Central Coast. Thanks to strong protection and years of conservation work, they've slowly made a comeback. Today, around 3,000 southern sea otters live along the Pacific shoreline from San Mateo County down to Santa Barbara County, and they're even starting to reclaim parts of this very coastline you're seeing right now. They love the kelp forests and rocky shallows here, where they dive for crabs and sea urchins, then float on their backs, cracking open their favorite snacks with a rock while wrapping themselves in kelp to keep from drifting away. If you're lucky, you might spot a small raft of them bobbing among the kelp just offshore, a true sign that this wild Pacific stretch is healing and full of life.
it's on an island, right? So we don't have to worry about those pesky bears or anything there. So that's why it's a popular place. And interesting enough, for the pinnipeds, they all have different breeding, so they can all kind of use the same beach because they're not all breeding at the same time. If you guys look to the left there, you can have a good view of the kind of the coastline. So yes, we have orcas. We don't. Sometimes we see them. The whale watching boats will see them, but every once in a while, again, they kind of come in close here, and again, they're chasing the sea lion, which is the most popular and populous of all the marine mammals. So again, seals and sea lions, those are our pinnipeds, and of course we have 4 of those out here. The largest ones are the sea elephants. The train actually goes by a couple of sea elephant rookeries.
Listen closely. The volunteers just mentioned the largest mammals on Earth. And yes, they're talking about the magnificent blue whale. These gentle giants are the biggest animals that have ever lived on our planet, some reaching over 100 feet long and weighing as much as 200 tons. That's heavier than a Boeing 747 jet. Every year, blue whales make a seasonal journey to this very stretch of the Pacific coastline. They spend their winters breeding in the warm waters off Mexico and Central America, then migrate north in late spring and summer to feed right here in the Santa Barbara Channel and along the Central California coast. The waters here are incredibly rich with tiny krill, and a single blue whale can eat up to 6 tons of them in a single day, scooping up huge mouthfuls of ocean water and filtering out the food with their baleen plates. It's an amazing comeback story, too. A century ago, blue whales were hunted almost to extinction. Today, thanks to protection, this area now supports one of the healthiest populations in the world, and the Santa Barbara Channel has even been called part of the whale superhighway. So keep your eyes on the horizon. If you're lucky, you might spot a tall spout or a massive dark back breaking the surface. A true once-in-a-lifetime sight from the train window.
Development on the ocean side of the tracks. Now, in this particular area, there isn't any land there to develop on, right?
Yeah.
But they have these trailers up here. They have generators, they have satellite dishes. We've never seen them move.
What do they do?
Sounds a little permanent to me. But it's a group of surfers. So this is supposed to be some of the best surfing on the coast of California.
Oh.
I talked to some surfers who said it's actually not worth the trouble. But because it's private property, how do you get up here? Now, in California, up to mean high tide or whatever it is, that's all public property, so you're allowed to be on the beach.
If you're planning to take this Amtrak Coast Starlight journey one day, I highly recommend sitting in the observation car and listening to these wonderful volunteers from the National Park Service Trails and Rails program. Their live explanations don't just help you understand the beautiful scenery passing by, they also bring to life the rich history of the Juan Bautista de Anza Trail, the native plants and animals that call this coastline home, and the fascinating stories behind what you're seeing. From the dramatic comeback of the southern sea otters and the seasonal migration of majestic blue whales, to the hidden private stretches of coast that most people never get to see, their commentary turns a simple train ride into a truly memorable and enriching experience. It makes the journey so much more enjoyable, educational, and special. Trust me, you'll appreciate every mile so much more with their voices in the background.
Wow.
They want to, Sable Oil wants to restart, so we had that huge disaster in 1960 mission for, we're all concerned. So we can talk a little bit about, those are really not ships out on the horizon that you see out there. Those are oil derricks. There are 9 in this section.
As we travel further north along the coast, you'll notice the Pacific Ocean becoming noticeably more wavy. Those white-capped waves are starting to appear more frequently now, breaking along the shoreline. This isn't just random. It's actually a common pattern on this stretch of the California coast. South of Point Conception, near Santa Barbara, the coastline is somewhat sheltered by the Channel Islands and the geography of the Santa Barbara Channel, which keeps the water calmer and more protected. Once we head north, the coast opens up more directly to the vast Pacific. Winds blowing across hundreds or even thousands of miles of open ocean, known as a long fetch, give the waves more time and distance to build in size and power. That's why the West Coast generally experiences larger and more energetic waves compared to many other places. On that particular day, the wind may have also picked up in this section, adding to the effect. But even on calmer days, you'll often see this gradual increase in wave activity the further north we go. It's one of the subtle ways the Pacific shows its wilder side as we leave the more sheltered southern waters behind.
So I'm getting technical questions about the cleaning of the track. Jim, I don't know. Jim knows more about. They spend a lot of time.
And that wraps up this part of our journey through the beautiful Santa Barbara County coastline. If you enjoyed these raw window views and the volunteer commentary, be sure to check out the rest of the series. I've broken the entire Coast Starlight ride from Santa Barbara northward into several parts, so you can enjoy the scenery at a relaxed pace. The next parts continue with even more stunning coastal views as we head further north. Thanks for riding along with me. I hope you'll join me for the rest of the trip.
Yeah, actually, we've got some construction.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, hit that like button. It really helps the channel. See you on the next travel adventure.